I'd like to start off this video by saying that MDMA, I took Molly, is a very serious drug. If you're 21 or younger, you shouldn't even think that you should take Molly. This drug really requires a high level of maturity, so you should really be at least 22. It's a very intense drug. It could overfire your serotonin receptors and cause, brain damage. So really educate yourself on the drug. And when I've taken the drug, I haven't taken it to party. I haven't taken it because I wanted a high. The times I've taken MDMA have almost felt like the drug has taken me. It's almost like the drug came into my life at a certain time and gave me this higher perspective or taught me a lesson. And I wasn't taking it to like dance and party. I was taking it to like have this higher perspective with like my closest friends. And that's really when Molly should be taken. Now, I've taken MDMA a couple times, and the couple times I have taken it, the experience has been like a 9 out of 10, like a 10 out of 10, this really awesome experience. But this one time I took Molly, the experience was like a 500 out of 10. It was almost like the other Molly trips I had were like 2 out of 10s compared to this insane experience. And I had this really big realization on this Molly trip, and it's almost like I saw this realization in like a vision, which is that when you start thinking about reality, you see the duality in everything. You see yin implies yang, life implies death, good implies evil, and that we need pairs of opposites for existence to be, and how we need opposites to have contrast to experience what something is. So we need dark in order to understand light. We need hate in order to understand fear. Reality needs consciousness to understand unconsciousness. Because if reality needs something in order to understand nothing. If reality was just nothing, then nothing would be there only because it in contrast to something. So therefore something and nothing go together. Absolute nothingness can't exist because something needs to be there, or else how would reality know that nothingness was nothingness? And like everything in life, there's opposites, yin and yang. And when you really start to think about this idea that everything has an opposite, that consciousness has unconsciousness, and all these go together in reality to make existence to be, to make reality understand itself, you actually could start to get kind of depressed. You realize death implies life and life implies death, and that really makes me realize that we are all eternal beings. We're all eternal spirits. We truly exist outside of the realm of time, and that we will be living for forever. But once you really think about this duality, yin yang, you almost get this, you start to get this depressing feeling that A, there's no point to anything, but B, that everything is in balance. That there will be just as much evil as there is good. That there will be just as much bad as there will be just as much evil as there's love. There will be just as much bad as good. And you almost get this feeling like that you are trapped in eternity forever, and where it's only balanced. Good will never beat bad, white will never beat black, love will never beat fear, and that the opposites will always be in balance. And to me, this is an extremely depressing thought, thinking that I'm in this eternal reality where it will always be balanced, so what's the point? But this vision that I had on MDMA made me see that yang is real, but yin is really just necessary an illusion to understand that yang is real. So, for example, light. Light is real, but darkness isn't real. Darkness is just the absence of light. But we need the darkness to understand the light, and we need the lightness to understand the dark. Another example is love. Love is real, but fear isn't. We need fear to understand love, we need love to understand fear, but fear is really just the absence of love. You could love fear, but you can't fear pure love. Pure light is real, but pure darkness really doesn't exist. Unconsciousness, by definition, you can't experience unconsciousness, but you can't experience full consciousness. And if you look at every single pair in duality, one is actually real, and one is just necessary an illusion to understand that realness. Love is real, fear is just an illusion. Light is real, darkness is just an illusion. And when you start to think about this, you could have the realization that you can never have pure darkness, because there's no light to contrast that pure darkness. You can never have pure fear, because there's no love to contrast that pure fear, because it's the illusionary yin. It really doesn't exist. You can never have an experience of unconsciousness because by definition unconsciousness doesn't exist while consciousness does exist. So light, love, consciousness, all these things exist in a pure form, but darkness, unconsciousness, fear, evil, all these things just exist as a contrast to the real thing. And therefore you can never think on a scale of 0 to 100, 100 being light, love, consciousness, and 0 being fear, darkness, unconsciousness. We need one to understand the other, 99 and 1, 50-50. And you know, it's always in a balance, but you can never have pure darkness. You can never, because that's an experience that we can't experience. You can never have pure unconsciousness. By definition, you can't experience that. It only exists with the contrast of light. But you can actually have pure love. You can actually have pure goodness. You can never have pure badness, but you can actually have pure goodness. You can have pure light. Because darkness is just the absence of light, but light still exists. And you know, all I'm saying is words. But this vision was so clear to me on the MDMA, and I like felt it. I saw it, but I also felt it. And the conclusion I got from this is that life actually isn't in balance. It's not half good, half bad, and it's not a balance in everything. But that light actually wins. Love actually wins. Pure goodness actually wins every once in a while. And pure darkness never wins. Pure evilness never wins, because you can't experience pure nothingness, but you can experience pure everythingness. Does that make sense? And because of this, every once in a while, eternity, everything becomes perfect. The most perfect reality for existence to be happens. It's just a fact that in existence, the best possible thing to happen will happen at some point in eternity. And when that happens, I think it's there for like a moment where everything in reality is the most perfect, loving thing possible. And it's there for a minute, or it's there for a moment. And in that moment, everything is perfect. And all the balance, all the shitty parts, all the pain, all the torture, all the suffering of life, in that moment of perfectness, we realize it's all worth it. And that the game we're playing of existence, of dualities, is perfect. It's all worth it, and everything is pure love, everything is pure perfect, everything makes perfect sense for this one moment. And this moment is so ecstatic that, because it's pure love, pure light. And it's pure something without contrast that only lasts a moment, and then we need the black to understand the white again, and we need the yin to understand the yang again. So for that moment, there's a moment in reality of pure perfectness, and then we need some contrast, and then the balance comes back and forth. But you see that 100% happens, where the pure love, the pure light happens, but the 0% of the pure negative never happens. By definition, you can't experience nothingness, but you can experience everythingness. You see what I'm saying? 100% exists, but 0% doesn't exist. So in this way, reality is actually leaning towards the positive. And when you realize this, you start to think that that moment will happen regardless. That perfect moment in reality will happen regardless, and there's nothing you need to do about it. It'll just happen. And once you realize this, you can just start letting go and trusting life, because it will happen eventually, where everything makes sense and everything is worth it. And I'm thinking probably like Jesus probably had a similar realization to this, of seeing this duality and seeing that the only really option you have is to let go and trust life. And the funny thing is, once you let go and trust life, that's when you get natural inspiration to do things. And you trust that you might have experience of extreme pain, suffering, and the most shittiest things imaginable, but in the end game of reality, there's a moment where everything is 100% love, good, yang, all the good stuff of life, and that moment makes everything worth it. And then the game repeats itself forever and ever, and that's what reality is. But the game is worth it, and me saying this, there's no really point to me even saying this, but it's what I'm naturally inspired to do, and that's all there is what we're naturally inspired to do once we let go. And there's no even point in understanding this. It's not something you need to like preach to other people. It's not something I'm going to try to make the whole world understand. It's just something I'm inspired to do, and here it is, and that moment will come, so all we do is let go and trust now, and that's that, and you do what you're naturally inspired to do, because sometime in reality, everything will be extremely perfect, and that'll make everything worth it, forever and ever. Peace. You will experience a state of complete ecstasy. Of whatever your wildest dream is, you will experience that.